Hello, everybody. Our first lesson for today is going to be a basic skill that you will need anytime you're using acrylics with ceramics, and especially the ceramics that we have in our kits is called bisqueware. Okay, so it is a very porous, very absorbent form of pottery. It has been fired once. It's called being bisqued. It's been bisqued. And this is called bisqueware. And because of its absorbent nature, it requires, especially with the paints that we provide, the addition of water to get you to be able to manipulate the paint in the way that you might want to. So the bisqueware, like I said, is very absorbent, and that makes it mimic in a lot of ways. That makes it mimic watercolor paper. Okay, so they're very similar in many ways in terms of a medium on which to put the paint. And what do you use with watercolor paint? Water. So I'm going to show you, and one of the things about our acrylic paints that makes this really important, our acrylic paints in particular, they're very high quality. It's important to me to be providing high quality materials, and the high quality nature of it means it is thicker. You know, some of the, art sets that I've gotten my kids over the years, the acrylic paints that come, they're already watered down. And while that makes it easier to paint, it doesn't give you as much control over the process. And so we provide a high quality paint, and here I am going to teach you how to use water to manipulate that paint into doing some things that you want it to do. So without further ado, I'm going to put this coaster down and show you a couple of things that we can do with water. The first step is to have something to kind of mix your paints in. And if you don't have one of these, it's not a big deal. Sometimes I recommend using aluminum foil. It is a slick surface. Everybody has it. You just fold it, and if you want to create like a little dish for it, just raise up the sides a little bit. And that creates a really easy little mixing palette for you that you can just curl up and throw away. And since I have this, I'm going to go ahead and use it. All right, so the first step, well, pick your color first, but I'm going to show you how to use these acrylic paints, to create kind of a stain look. So the first thing that we're going to do, I'm going to show you how little paint you actually need. You don't need a lot of paint at all. I have never actually run out of paint when painting these kits, but that's because I use a lot of water, and that helps. So I actually wet my brush first. I add water to the brush and then to the palette, so there's just a little bit of water in there. I'm going to go ahead and use pink, and I just put a little bit on the tip of the brush, and then let's see, I'm going to show you what 2 little dips in a little bit of water, how far that can actually go. All right, and put this down. I'll put this down. All right, we're gonna just paint. You see how much that covers? Now it's a very light color, but let's just see how far 2 little dabs of paint and a little bit of water will take us. I've barely even grabbed any paint from there. So what I would do is keep my brush really wet and keep painting. This is kind of a stain effect, so I want it to be a little transparent, all right? So we're gonna add a little more water and a little more paint. You'll get a feel for how much you need to accomplish whatever goal it is I'm not gonna paint this whole coaster pink, because I'm gonna show you how we can kind of transition into another color with the water. But this is kind of a stained effect. It's not a really thick coat. It's not gonna be opaque. It's gonna be transparent. You can add more layers to make it more opaque, but I always recommend starting with a thinner layer, and it gives you more flexibility as you continue to paint. All right, so I've gone about halfway And now I'm going to switch colors. And the reason I'm going to switch colors is just to show you how you can easily transition into another color. Again, I have literally, you can't even tell that I've taken any paint out of here. So this paint goes a long way, which means you can have it for other projects, which I will likely be sharing with you in more lives in the future. Okay, so I've got a really pretty base coat. It's a very transparent, you can still see some of the white of the bisque coming through. And I am going to now switch and come from the other direction. And then when we get to the middle, I'm going to show you how you can kind of transition. All right, so let's do, I'm going to add a little water over here. Let's do orange, pink and orange. Those are Pottery Awesomeness colors. That's appropriate, right? All right, again, now I've mixed and I just have a bunch of liquid orange in here. But like I said, this bisque is super absorbent. So it's going to soak up that water. Look how quickly it soaks up the water. You can see it disappearing right when it hits it, right? So that's why we add the water. Otherwise, the little amount of liquid that is in the acrylic paint when you begin is going to get absorbed right away, and then it's not going to go very far. It's just going to sit in that one spot. So we want to move the paint across the pottery, across the ceramic surface, and in order to do that, you do need to use water. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more, and a little bit more water. And the good thing is, if you add too much and it's not, it's too transparent for you, you can always do more layers. And that is, you can never take back the thickness, but you can always add more layers. I like to start with something a little transparent and then add more layers as I go. I've just learned that it allows more flexibility. Okay, so now we've gotten to the transition line. So the way that you create a really nice smooth transition, if you don't want a sharp line, I kind of like the line, to be honest, I really do. But I'm going to show you how to blend these two together. So what you do is you actually pull the orange over the pink with water, and then you pull the pink over the orange with water, okay? And so I'm gonna start with the orange, and I'm gonna erase that line that's there, and then I'm gonna go over the pink, and I'm actually only gonna add water on this, no more paint, and it kind of wets the pink underneath and it kind of blends it on the surface, okay? Now we're gonna take the pink, I'm gonna add a little pink and a little water, a little more pink, and then I'm going to go in the other direction, okay? Do you see how that sharp line disappears and you can kind of not even tell where the pink begins and the orange ends? And that's how you do a transition, and you have to have water in order to do that. So this is really just showing you the importance of water. And now if you want an opaque color, you might be tempted to not use water at all. But let me show you what happens. It just makes it more difficult to paint, to be honest, okay? So we've got this beautiful Pottery Awesomeness coaster. I really like it. I might make a set of these. But let's just show you what happens without any water and a dry brush, okay? A completely dry brush. And I'm gonna put the pink directly in there, and let's see what happens. It doesn't go very far, and it leaves a lot of dry marks, and it can be really frustrating, especially for kids, because then they have to keep on dipping their paintbrushes again and again to get more and more and more paint, when really I used more paint on this than I did on this entire one that I did before. Okay, so I implore you to have a big jar of water, and either a piece of aluminum foil or a palette to mix your colors and mix your colors with the water. Now you can experiment with different amounts of water and different amounts of paint. And the other thing I wanted to say with these transitions, if you want, and you're not going to want to use a lot, you're going to want to use water. So you can, in the very middle, mix the pink with a dab of orange. You don't want to do too much. And so it kind of blends those colors a little bit in the middle, like it's going to anyway. We've got this kind of salmon-y color. That's pretty. And then you can kind of paint that already transitioned color in the middle. All right, so those are the basic reasons that we want to use water. You get a lot of dry. Now, if you don't use water, and I'm going to teach this in another lesson, you can do a dry brush effect, and sometimes you want to do a dry brush effect. But in general, when you're trying to coat your piece with the color that you want, you're gonna want to dilute it with some water. Now look at that. I've completely covered this coaster, and I've not used hardly any paint. And it's not like the point is to not use paint. It's just to show you how far you can go by adding water to it. These are, again, high quality paints, and in order to get them to do what you want, you need to manipulate them using water. How many times can I say water in one post? I'm not sure. Okay, so I can show you real quick, just for those of you who are like, it's too transparent. I want it to have more color. Okay, well, once you've gotten a base color, let me explain what happens. The absorbency of the bisque has diminished. There's a surface coating. This acrylic paint is a surface coating now. It's a finish. It is less absorbent now. So now on your second coat, you need a lot less water to get coverage. I just took a dry brush. No, I didn't. I took a wet brush. But that's okay. But I did not add water to it. I just dipped it straight in, and watch how much surface coverage we get. It does not give you that dry brush effect that we got before. I'm getting a lot more coverage on the second coat because it's not the bare bisque. Always on your first coat, add some water so that bisque will absorb the water. Now, some people will say that you can just wet the bisque, but I actually don't recommend that. You're going to lose your control a little bit. You have more control when you add it to your paintbrush. And so ideally between coats, you're going to want to let it dry completely. And you can, here's an insider tip, Pottery Awesomeness insider tip. You can use a hairdryer for those of you that are impatient or have impatient children. I myself am impatient, and I enjoy moving to the next step and getting my ideas out there. So that is the nuts and bolts of this. So thanks for watching, and if you have any further questions, just message me. I'm glad you came today, and definitely 2 weeks from now we'll do another tip and trick, and I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.